So thank you for the opportunity to present today. My presentation is the Entangled System of Oppression on by multilingual learners with intersectionality. I'm talking about intersectionality because it's myself also as an person with intersectionality. And I'm trying my best actually to slow down my pace in talking. Uh, so my pronouns are he, they, Ari. I'm a brown, Asian, Indonesian, and multilingual. Since I was a kid, I was taught with a lot of different languages. My native language is different from Indonesian because Indonesian is national language. So Indonesia has more than 300 local languages or vernaculars. So my mother tongue is not Indonesian, even though I'm Indonesian. And also I was taught Arabic because I was raised in a Muslim family. And I was also taught Chinese and German in school. So there's a lot of languages in my life. I'm also a queer person, and also I'm an artist. So that's why I cannot get away from relating what I'm doing with arts. And also I'm a person with learning disability. And also I'm a writer. I publish poems. And also I'm working on my collection of process that I've been writing now. And also I'm an educator. I used to, just like introduced by Barita, that I've been teaching during my career. And also I'm a researcher now at ASU while I'm doing also my PhD. Okay, so that's a contact number in case you want to contact me for further questions during this session. So, okay, so let's see here. I need to move the bar a moment in here. This is blocking my view. Okay, that's it. So I would like to see also from actually this piece is my response to my concerns because I've been reviewing a lot of literature in neoliberalism, ableism, and also racial linguistics, and I've seen that they're not connected. They're separately talking about this system of oppressions, while I know that they're connected, but they don't articulate that. But before that, I would like to also see, U.S. educational landscape. I always check U.S. educational landscape before going down to the topic so we know where we are standing. And also looking at a little bit of history in here. So if you see the history of US public schooling policies, has been related to different system operations and domination. It has been the attention from educational research scholars actually from the past and until now. Like, for example, Hernandez Tutop argues that the educational curriculum does not represent the diversity of student identities, cultivate into discriminative practices towards students. Like, for example, standardized tests has become part of the Eurocentric curriculum, which sharpens the difference between poor and also rich students in terms of achievement in standardized tests in schools through leveling lack of ability for students coming from marginalized communities. Meanwhile, the schools do not also provide marginalized students with a good quality education. Instead of providing with a good educational system, they segregate students of color, such as Hispanic students, into minority schools and decrease the budget of schools. And also, Coulter and Hauser reveal, it's not really long, the research is 2019, revealed that school curricula led by a white dominant teacher presented, a Western viewpoint with other many students. So I'm going to present you some videos today. So with this myriad system of oppression, in the US educational system, scholars specifically bring some oppression ideologies into discussion. So I see in here presenting three, Chinya Pena, posits the importance of looking at raciolinguistic ideology derived from nationalist and monoglossic rhetorics that alienate the heritage identities and languages in bilingual learners through consistently framing heritage language as unsuccessful and unimportant language. So actually, I'm not talking this one really further because I will be discussing in the literature section, but I would like to introduce a little bit the concept of racial linguistics by Alim and the team. It's coming from his concerns towards a lot of bullies and racism toward President Barack Obama when he was elected in the past. Like, for example, from linguist John McWaters, calling him with a black accent, and also hip hop icon like Snoop Dogg's also saying that the right conversation And also, there's also a statement also from independent candidate Ralph Nader, saying that Obama is like a talking white. And also, there's a lot of other statements about his language, like no Negro dialect, and also he wanted to have one and everything. So that's why Alim and other anthropologists actually they try also to see this issue actually that racism is not separate from language discrimination. So that's why they try to untangle racism and also language discrimination as they are interconnected. So that's why we come to the term racial linguistics in here. So I would like also to see from Kangas in here discusses about the dominant narrative of school to label English learners or bilingual or multilingual learners with disabilities as a slow learners hinders the school from enhancing and learning opportunities of students. So, like for example, the story of Adam by McDermott and Vereen that I will also discuss in the section today. But I would like also to introduce the concept of ableism from Foucault because I'm working on post structural works and post foundational studies. So yeah, in Foucault, ableism comes as a labeling prejudice, towards people who are not aligned, to the society. So that's why they are classified into marginalized group, and then as a consequence, people who are dominant, society which is dominant, make decisions on these people that are marginalized, And in the past, people with level of disabilities, they are put into hospitals, mental hospital systems that try to fix them. So even though it's not always correct, so ableism is not sometimes showing that somebody is really disabled. In many ways, the person is not disabled too, but they are labeled as disabled. Like, for example, English language speakers who do not speak English, like native speakers. Like Hurst and Martina also discuss also another ideology that is neoliberal ideology in the US, which is based on accountability to make sure that students can add economic value to the country, to the future. Students take standardized tests to determine whether they can pass or not, promoting segregation and treatment for those who cannot keep up. So, like I also see from Giroux in here on neoliberal concept, that try to promote speed and also efficiency along with the output. Okay, let's see the objectives in here. So with this all discussion, in my introduction, so I would like to understand the intertwine racial linguistics, ableism, and also neoliberalism in educational context by exploring the ideologies manifested in policy and school practices on English learners or bilingual or multilingual learners with different intersectionality. Furthermore, the work will also incorporate ethnographic art-based educational research to document the system of oppressions. So I'm thinking about doing the ethnographic maybe in the future. That's why, I'm trying to also to see from this perspective. But mostly what I'm going to present today is on the arts, that we see how art also can be implemented also in the school and also educational system. So for the questions that I have in here, how are racial linguistic ableist and also neoliberal ideologies and practices in education intertwined to create a unified system of oppression in US educational systems? And also, how does educational policy affect the learning opportunities of bi and multilingual learners with different intersectionalities? So also, how can the intertwined ideologies be challenged through outbreak creation? So in scholarly work that I observed so far, that I also review, researchers have not entangled these three elements explicitly, but they serve the points actually already. So let's go to the literature review in here that I'm doing. So I see from the perspective of racial linguistic first in here, because again, they are still segregated. They're not entangling, these systems of operations, but I see, some works have been trying to do that, even though they're not, explicitly mentioned that. So let's go to the concept of the first one from Chino Pena, that racial linguistics is particularly relevant given the nationalist, monoglossic, and also xenophobic rhetoric underlying the current anti-immigrant political discourse in the United States, which is often supported by xenophobic sentiment. So a complex ideological system governs language in the US system, starting with the nationalist rhetorics rooted in the communist-centric bias by Gordon and the team, and also white nationalism. this framework constructs the nation as a racially knowable or white, so it's separated between who are, knowable and who are, unknowable. And positioning non-white immigrants as a threat also, that piece by Maine. And official discourse uses English as the national language to enforce assimilation, articulating heritage languages as deficient and seeking their erasure. So in here, we can see that they're starting to talk about the word deficient in here too, that can be connected to other system of oppression. And this is reinforced by monoglossic rhetoric, where the linguistic norm of monolingualism, English dominance, is fundamentally rooted in the racial ideology of white centrism. So I give the example in here, sorry. That's an excerpt from the piece of Chinya Peña. Forgive me, my Spanish is really still bad, but I'm going to try to read the English version. The main thing from here, well, it's English, and since she has difficulties to learn it, sorry, then I'm going to give her in English. So that's an excerpt of the one of the participants, who is the parent actually of the uh, child labeled with a disability. So they're trying also to limit the access. Okay, let's see in here. I'm so sorry. I'm disturbed. I'm disturbed by the bar. I need to move it all the time. So the state discourse links English directly to success and the American dream, universalizing westernized values and constructing an oppressive notion of normalcy. White, English speaking, and able-bodied by Santa Maria Graf and also Segara Hansen. For your information, Santa Maria Graf is in my committee. And xenophobic rhetoric sustains this dominance by viewing heritage languages as a threat to white-centric society, framing their speakers as unsuccessful. Immigrant families internalize this view, leading to the alienation of heritage languages and compliance with the xenophobic agenda by prioritizing English-only proficiency in their children, like what we see in the excerpt above. So let's go to the second one, ableism. So this is the literature in ableism. The rhetoric, which also see as a disability marker. Again, it is in Spanish there. Forgive me, my Spanish is still really bad, but I'm learning. I'm gonna read the piece in English there. Yes, they have offered the option of bilingual class, but for him, it is very difficult because it is difficult to learn both languages, both to write it, to read it. For them, it's easier to learn only one language. So that's from the parent again. So thus, English is unjustly used as a primary language for judging intelligence and life skills. As a direct result of this ableist framing, those who do not speak English or who speak English with a variant or an accent are often labeled as less intelligent and less skilled. In this context, English effectively pathologizes non-normative language use through the lens of ableism. In practice, teachers also perpetuate the ableist ideology through the perception and action as experts and experts or expertise, and also patients helpers from the basis of understanding that students are ones with a skill deficit and disability. Actually, there's also a piece from Melanie Bertrand that's really good about adultism, talking that how adult make decisions on children in the name of ableist, able or disabled, because they believe that children or students are not able to make decisions. So that's why they're not involved in many decision making. That's a piece for Melanie Bertrand, focusing also bilingual and multilingual learners. So I'm gonna look into the story of Adam in here. Adam is bilingual, speaking English, American English, and also Chinese. And in his life, there's these menus. I call it menus, but it's not really something that I that I like. But McDermott and also Perrine put the word menus in the piece. So the Chinese and American, and also Chinese American, and also label with a learning disability after that. And also the classmates also give another label, slow, stupid, and retard. So that's so painful for me reading this piece. And actually, I was crying reading this piece. So that's a statement from Adam. If you try harder and harder, it will be just get worse and worse. So that's penetrating, the learners, and also along with the parents, in the way of ableism. Okay, so let's see another literature talking about neoliberalism in here. So I'm looking at a lot of things in here, but for the piece is from Brogers. I don't know how to pronounce that well, and Staunaus, and also and also Juk Zaire, and also Robert Swaka Steingart. Neoliberalism has led to focus on a mass production where education is viewed through the lens of business, prioritizing speed, efficiency, and output, just like I explained before. So let's see in here, some literature discussing specifically about about speed.
This piece.
About speed. Curriculum is designed to be completed within strict timeframes, leading to survival of the fittest. So this is the ideology of neoliberalism: survival of the fittest mentality, and also increased competition among students. Giroux, and also so in the end is resulting in segregation of students, and who are fast, who are slow. And also the second point is about efficiency. Funding is often generalized, neglecting the specific needs of diverse student populations. So it is the point of efficiency in neoliberal education. So that's why it becomes to individualism, because it's privatization. Everybody is responsible for themselves instead of institutions' responsibility. So the next one is output. Also, the focus in here. The focus is on quantifiable achievements like grades, standardized test scores, rather than learning process itself. So becoming commodity and punishment. So who's gonna be having future for this country and who's not, and also they deserve to get so-called punishment or treatment or remedy. So this impact of neoliberal education reform disproportionately harms students who are already marginalized, such as those with special education needs and disabilities, English learners, bi and multilingual learners, and students who fall into intersection of these groups, like, for example, special education needs and also disability. These students are often seen as the slow learners in ableist educational realms, and also their unique assets and needs are deprioritized in favor of universal, profit-driven educational standards. That's by Kangas. But again, I see also the piece from McDermott and Vereen also talked about neoliberalism. But not specifically for entangling so much, in an implicit way, but touching the point of neoliberalism. For example, in the class where Adam was in competition with other students, Adam always failed to compete because, Adam could not learn that way, prioritizing on the speed. The way Adam learned is by making stories, and other kinds of arts. So that's why in this piece, we can see that, how competition is created in the class, and also the neglection of Adam's special needs also in this class have been influenced also by neoliberalism, not only about by ableism. So I come with this framework in here, like raciolinguistics, ableism, and also neoliberalism. They are working based on categorization. Like, for example, racial linguistics based on categorizing, which language is more important, which language is not important, related to the race, which race is dominant, which race is not dominant. And also about ableism, also the same, who is able, who can be following the stream, can be fast, and also is not, And also neoliberalism, about ableism, talking about the context in bilingual and multilingual education. Mostly, students are judged based on English proficiency that represent intellectuality. So for those who are able to speak English fluently and in the normative way, in the native-like style, they be considered mostly in society smarter than those who cannot speak English in that way, So in neoliberalism, also there's also segregation or categorization between who is fast, who is slow, who pass, who fail, and also which one is efficient, which not is efficient. And if I see the bilingual and multilingual education, they also split into two paradigms, segregation between bilingual learners with non-bilingual learners, but at the same time, there's also peace from, I'm so sorry, I put C in there. It's supposed to be ABC. See this segregation, between bilingual learners and also non-bilingual learners, through practice actually implemented in the school in Tucson. that they combine student with bilingual needs and also student with non-bilingual needs in the same class, and it was successful. So I'm coming to let's discuss this. I'm presenting a video uh, on YouTube. So I have two videos in here. I want you to see these videos and come with a question. I have also a question in here for you to think of. You can also think about the other things of the videos. So how do the entangled oppressions like raciolinguistic, ableist, and also neoliberal ideologies exist and affect the way they think, feel, and see themselves? So let's get to it. Sorry. I need to stop sharing a moment because there's a glitch. Okay. So this is the first video. I'm gonna start from.
You want to share the sound or shut the video?
Was it Marita?
Because I cannot hear anything from the video.
Okay, so
So maybe
interesting.
yeah.
Maybe I can share the link of my slides.
Yeah.
So by that you guys can see also.
Yeah.
Sorry for the
I
glitch.
think it will
It
be good.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna put in the chat the link of my slides and
Thank
open
you.
the access already for all people. I was supposed to share actually since the beginning, but I forgot it. I'm so sorry. Sorry, that's a YouTube one. Can be also YouTube maybe. Yeah, it can be YouTube directly.
Yes, I can accept that.
Then,
Yeah.
yeah, now I send also the second link of the YouTube video, but I also share my slides in here with you guys also.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you
Thank
can
you.
also follow. Yeah, you're welcome. So I'm gonna let's watch together. I'm gonna share my screen again in here. If you cannot hear anything, you feel free to watch in the separate link. So I'm gonna I'm gonna go to the second video also in here. We watch together. And for again, for those who cannot access the video, you can watch, separately. The links are on the chat. Okay, so um, let's go back in here. I hope that you could watch the videos. And then because of the time limitations, I wonder if maybe one or two people maybe can talk about their ideas or thoughts of these videos. Uh,
So everyone, if you want to say something, you can raise hand or you can put it in the chat box so that everyone can see your ideas.
yep. Feel free to give the ideas. I'm so sorry for the glitch again because I don't use premium YouTube in here. I use the free version. But yeah, feel free to give your ideas about the first video about immigrant kids from Venezuela. How do you see the system of oppression? That also penetrating already. The kids influenced by the society and looking at how English is working in the school and yeah, with the society. You can have a chat too in there. Feel free. One or maybe two, only maybe one because I will go to the art after this. So, is there anyone who would like to volunteer? It's okay. No need to be nervous. It's okay, to say something in here. If you don't want to talk about racial linguistics, ableism, and also neoliberalism, it's okay. Just give your thoughts in here about these two videos. Maybe you can say, "Oh, that's fascinating," and yeah, just give a response. Okay, gotcha. So we have some responses, two responses already there from Aurelia. I'm so sorry if I pronounced it wrongly. So newcomers are smart, but they only don't speak English. This happens a lot in many schools without ELL teachers to support. So everybody should have finished ELL endorsement to understand how to teach non-English students. That's very good. And also from Lisa in here, I think it's deliberately highlights a systematic problem in many schools. Classroom teachers aren't always prepared to teach language learners and deem things unimportant. That's so that's so touching. That's so right. So is there any uh, oral comments, I mean verbal, if you want to make, that's really good, because if we see in here in these two videos, the first one, it's really obvious that, the society has been, creating the system of shame. I call it politics of shame, that also penetrates immigrants who do not speak English because English is privilege and also symbolizes ableism of intellectuality. So for immigrants, sometimes we feel very bad if we cannot speak English really well. We feel that we are not smart enough. And in many ways, when I was learning English, it was very long process, and I was thinking that I was very slow person in learning. But learning language takes time. So that's why it's always good also to give opportunities for the students to use also, their other languages. I don't want to use the word other actually. Their languages, their native languages, to also incorporate in the class during the process, because it's really hard if you just push students, to only have to only learn one language when they are new immigrants in the United States. But yeah, that's the reality that the system has created like a politics of shame, the system of shame to immigrants and feel embarrassed. Yeah, that's the system in here. But if you see from the second one, also the same, everybody was laughing at him, Morias, when he was just saying 40 without being able to state the ideas. Yep. I see also from Medina or Medina, so sorry. Language acquisition is more than the learning of another language. It is a complex communication system embedded in academic and social setting, which takes time to understand and navigate. That's very true, you know. So I also try to relate with my own experience. Every time I teach my students, I also reflect on myself. So I can always push them. And then I know, we're always in tension between following the system, accountability, and standardization that we have in schools. But at the same time, we are beyond that. We are also humans, and we always find a way, to navigate in this class. So, yep. Due to time, I cannot talk about this one further, but there's a lot of things in here. So keep reflecting. So let's go to the next slide. So what now? Many of English learners or bilingual or multilingual learners also come to the class with diverse identities, such as student of color, student with disability, and student from low-income families. So education stakeholders and educational researchers, I cannot separate from educational researchers because we also inform education stakeholders, must be aware of this condition by finding ways to support and dismantling the injustices. For example, Ortiz and the team also address the fact that emerging bilingual and multilingual learners are beyond a single identity as bilingual English learners. Instead, they also come to the class with their multi-identities, such as Latinx, students with disability, and also students from migrant families. So the eraser of their diverse identity or different identities is from the agenda of oppressive ideologies through making the minoritized identities as deficit. I'm sorry, it was a typo, as a deficit by Ortiz and the team. Thus, policy and practice should adjust to this fact. Okay, so what now? This is the continuation of that. Therefore, Chinya Pena, again, I cite, her a lot because, I like her works, calls for a more inclusive school curriculum that can support bilingualism without segregating the students from their peers. This is what I mentioned earlier, that the idea to desegregation, desegregate, the students. For example, Chinya Pena posits that the two-way language immersion program can be a solution by integrating two populations, white middle-income native English speaking students with non English speaking students of color from low income families and in the same school programs. So this is the context in Arizona. Dual language schools in Tucson have been utilized since 1980s and attracting white students to join predominantly minoritized students populations to help desegregate bilingual education. But in my perspective, it's beyond that. Let's go to I'm looking at from slow ontology, because everything is about fast, 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 In the neoliberalism, speed is really important, to for economics, efficiency. And also in ableism perspective, also the word slow is becoming like, the label, for the students with special needs. And it is same also with raciolinguistics, that, language becomes a measurement for intellectual and also for racism. So let's see in here, I see from So Ontology by Justin Ulmer in here and also Basu. I'm so sorry for ping, it's 2019, not mistaken. And it's used to challenge accountability based on speed, efficiency, and output. So we challenge through slow ontology. So it's the same with Alonso Bejarano and the team address that there is a need in educational context to tell students about a correlation between art and activism. So in here, we are trying to implement slow ontology in the practice. So we see arts is the way, the story creation as part of art creations becomes the activism toward the system of oppressions on both US and non-US citizens. So let's see from King in here that the story creation becomes part of American indigenous culture that challenges the Western colonial practices in knowledge creation. So, yep, I'm gonna move to this one, this theoretical framework. We have speed, output, efficiency, and also mixed with the concept of adultism, that adult makes decision on children, on young youth, and in the name of their expertise, their knowledge, and also comes with the deficit. So they are in communication between these three neoliberal concepts and also the theories asset slow ontology and critical narrative art inquiry. So I'm gonna come with the video in here again. I really hope that we have time, but I'm not gonna maybe present all of this video. Let me see. So I just want to introduce this to you. I'm gonna stop sharing a moment. So that's the link of the third video, the last video that I will be presenting. So I'm starting from the beginning now. So yep, due to the time, I cut off the video in here a little bit, but I think that's a good point mentioned already in here. So yeah, I'm coming back. We're coming back in here again, then hope that you can watch also the video, even though I didn't finish it because of the time, and also that's an interesting point too. I have a glitch in here. I was sharing the screen. Yeah, just to the other. So, is there any ideas about what we watch already? In what way do you see that art creations help in your multilingual class from the video? I know we didn't finish the video, but from the first minute, I think it's really interesting already telling us something about that. So maybe you can put on the chat, or maybe we can also discuss maybe in the Q&A that we have. And then, yeah, I can continue presentation while you can still put in the chat of your response to the video, the last video about arts creations in the class. And then we will discuss maybe in the Q&A at the same time. So I'm going to continue my presentation. Sorry. So what about art? So looking at one system of operation is ignoring the entanglement of the system of operations dealt by multilingual learners. So looking at the intersectionality of bi and multilingual learners' identities, we also talk about multi-self as a multi-needs. And let's look at art-based creation curriculum and teaching practices that can move beyond the linguistic mode of language. And also arts as the third alternate way beyond the binary art healing. I'm citing from Anzaldúa, Gloria Anzaldúa, as looking at a third way beyond the binaries as a way of healing from the long conflicts of between dominant and minority. So that's from Anzaldúa. So the ambivalence, or what I call as a conflict or tension, brings to something else that is art. So this is art. I would like to share the art that I created recently. You know, why is it cut? I don't understand why I missed somewhere. Okay, so that's my art creation. I don't know why is it M only I wrote in my creations, but okay, just forget about that, and focus on the pictures in here and see, how I created a lot of things, in my life through these art creations and paintings, and also I dance also. This is the picture. So you talk about arts, don't only think about whether it is painting, dance only. Arts are really diverse too and multi. You can also see art, from from poetry, and you can also see art also from narrative or self accounts. You make stories about yourself is also part of the narrative. And you can also talk about photos. So you can bring photos to the class, to your students, and let them talk about the photos because these are really good in stimulating and motivating actually students also to speak in the class, by creating also. Just like said by the video that we watch about art creation. So they're gonna talk a lot about what they created. That's true about arts. I can talk about my arts all day in here. So in terms of the concept of bilingual or multilingual, students are allowed actually to use their first languages in terms of communicating their ideas of art creation. So now we go to the question. So